everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hope everybody's having a great day today. Hope everything is going your way today. Today, I'm coming to you with one look using 3 palettes. Yes. Today, I'm coming to you with one look using the Colourpop Fade into Hue palette on one side and the Viseart Editorial Brights and Koi palettes on the other. Yes. Colourpop and Viseart. So, if you want to just hang out with me while I create one look using 3 palettes, then just keep on everybody, let's get started. Man. Okay, guys, so picture this. It's bright and early on a Saturday morning. I go get my cup of coffee and do like I always do every morning. Go onto my shop app to see what packages are being delivered today, cause it's Lily. It's always a package being delivered today. And that's when I see it to my surprise, cause it didn't take that long like it usually always does. I can expect a delivery from Colourpop. And I'm sure, as you can tell by the intro on the thumbnail, the delivery that I'm talking about today is the Colourpop Fade into Hue palette. So first, I'm going to let you know a few deets about the Fade into Hue palette, and then I'm going to let you know how I came to the decision of using the Fade into Hue palette on one side and the Viseart Editorial Bright and Koi palettes on the other. So let's get started. So first, let's talk about the packaging. The packaging is really cute, guys. It has Fade into Hue Colourpop on the front of a pretty palette with a beautiful pastel tie-dye design. And while the palette is indeed cardboard, it has that soft, maybe velvety, matte type feeling to it. And on the back of the palette, you'll find the name of the palette, the layout, and the names of the shades inside the palette. You'll also find indication letting you know that this palette is cruelty-free. You'll find information on where the palette was distributed, which is in the USA. The net weight of the palette, which is 22.7 grams / 0.8 ounces. And you'll also find an asterisk beside each of the names of the shades that are not intended for use in the immediate eye area. The palette doesn't have a mirror, but I don't much mind it because most of Colourpop's palettes don't. And when you open her up, guys, here are the colors. Would you look at them? Would you look at them? Would you look at them? The palette has 30 shades. 4 pressed glitters, 7 sequins, 8 shimmers, and the rest are all mattes. And I must admit, guys, upon looking at the color story of this palette, this is my favorite color story by Colourpop today. Because not only is it a rainbow palette, but it's got your rainbow brights and your rainbow pastels. And while you guys, my peeps, already know how I feel about sequins and pressed glitters, I could have really done without. But, there are some people who do like those shades, so that was a pretty smart move by Colourpop, I suppose. Now, what actually made me come to the decision that I would use the Fade into Hue palette on one side and the Viseart Editorial Brights and Koi on the other were a couple things. For one, I still have a couple more palettes that I need to use out of my shop, my stash. And the Editorial Brights and Koi happen to be 2 of them. When I opened up the Fade into Hue palette, it actually reminded me a lot of the Koi palette and Editorial Brights palette. And while I didn't exactly find complete dupes in the Fade into Hue palette compared to the Editorial Brights palette, there were definitely 2 or 3 standouts. First, let's start with the red from the Editorial Brights compared to Paradise in the Fade into Hue. While they may not be quite the same, guys, The resemblance is eerily similar. And then when compared to yellow shade from the Editorial Brights palette. Let me do that again, because Viseart palettes swatch horribly. With Abstract from the Fade Into Hue palette. While both shades might not be spot on dupes, yeah, they definitely look close enough. And lastly, guys, when comparing this teal shade from the Editorial Brights palette, let me swatch it again. With Bold Type from the Fade Into Hue palette, while these shades are definitely not complete dupes, they are most definitely close enough. And dare I say that the Colourpop mattes actually swatch better than the mattes out of the Editorial Brights palette. And those are actually the only mattes from the Fade Into Hue palette that even come close to the mattes in the Editorial Brights palette. But when comparing the shimmers in the Fade Into Hue palette with the shimmers in the Koi palette, that's when the resemblance gets eerily similar, guys. Every single shimmer in the Fade Into Hue palette comes quite close to the shimmers in the Koi palette. First, starting with Fantasyland from the Fade Into Hue palette, to the very last shade in the Koi palette. While the shift in the Koi shade is slightly greener than the shift in Fantasyland. The resemblance is eerily similar. Now moving over to Express from the Fade Into Hue palette. And the 11th shade from the Editorial Brights palette. While the shift in the Fade Into Hue palette is slightly different, guys, the resemblance is eerily similar. Now moving on to Pose from the Fade Into Hue palette. Compared to the 7th shade in the Koi palette. Guys, wow, the shade from the Koi palette pulls just slightly a little bit more gold. I mean, you put both of these on your lid, I doubt you can really tell the difference, guys. And now moving right along to Shine Bright from the Fade Into Hue palette. Compared to the first shade from the Koi palette. While there is just a tad bit more yellow gold in the Koi palette shade, when looking at one next to the other, guys, you can really hardly even tell a difference. And now moving on to Hot Copy from the Fade Into Hue palette. Compared to the second shade from the Koi palette. While there's just a tad bit more silver in the blue from the Koi palette, guys, I'm sure if you put both shades on your lid, you won't even be able to tell a difference. Moving right along to Retro Dream from the Fade Into Hue palette. Compare it with the third shade from the Koi palette. Guys, even though the shade from the Fade Into Hue palette pulls just a little bit more peach in the shift, guys, the resemblance in these shades is eerily similar. Okay, guys, comparing Halt from the Fade Into Hue palette with the 10th shade in the Koi palette. Guys, even though you see just a tad bit more teal in the shift from the Koi palette, straight on, they look like dupes. There's just the slightest bit of difference between these two shades. And I'm going in with the final shimmer, which is Majestic, from the Fade Into Hue palette, with the 8th shade from the Koi palette. Now this is the one that's not really a spot-on dupe, and it's slightly close. This one pulls just a little bit more violet. But guys, if we had to go with inspiration, I mean, that's a difference, but not by much. So that's just to show you guys, my peeps, less 4 shades, that if you have the Fade Into Hue palette, you pretty much already have the Koi palette, less 4 shades. And I mean, technically, Colourpop could have really put the other 4 shades in the palette and kept those pressed glitters. So now that we got that part done, enough all the yapping. Let's get into this look though. And while I don't really know what look I'm going for today, one thing's for sure and 2 things for certain. Based on the mattes in the Fade Into Hue palette that resemble the mattes in the Editorial Brights palette, it's going to be bright and similar and Christmas. But first things first, guys, I'm going to base my eyes with my P. Louise eyeshadow base in Rumor 0.5. So please enjoy these swatches while I do so.
Go through the top of the pyramids, let's save the world like this. I just landed in another atmosphere. I'm just floating in the stained steel sphere. I bet you have questions, like where did I come from? I know I come from the planet that hit Tiamat years ago, years ago, years ago, years ago. I do my flows and then I get so lost. Light just take my sphere to go, sphere to go, sphere to go, sphere to go through the top of the pyramids. Let's save the world like this, converting to light bodies. But really they all a part of me. Let's get the whip and go.
Okay, guys, let's party. First, going in with the red shade from the Editorial Brights palette, I'm going to put that directly in my crease on my right, your left. And I'm going to be using my Sephora medium shadow brush to get that done.
I do not want you to go, but I do not want to stop you.
Okay, guys, you couldn't even imagine how surprised I was when I got the Fading Into Hue palette and found all them shades from the Koi palette inside the Fading Into Hue. Guys, all I gotta say is, if those shades perform as good as the Viseart, I mean, if the swatches are any indication, you guys, my piece would totally be able to skip out on the Koi palette. I mean, unless you just absolutely want the 4 shades that are not in the Fade Into Hue palette. I mean, when looking at this shade, it does look more so pink than red, but yeah. You often find that when you're using reds anyway. I would say the only shade that I've used ever that looked totally as red as it did in the pan is from my Viseart Grande Pro 3. Guys, every single one of those shades apply to your lid exactly like they do in the pan. Because I find that all the other reds that I've used in my collection pretty much have a pink undertone. But that's bright though. Okay, guys, now going in with this shade Paradise here from Fade Into Hue. I'm going to put that directly in my crease on my left, your right. Oh, guys. This shade is pigmented as all get out. Oh, yeah. These shades are super similar. Okay, guys, so far so good. So far so good. So now going in with this yellow shade from the Editorial Brights palette, I'm going to just go ahead and use that to blend out the red shade. And I'm going to be using my DJ Unique Boutique small fluff brush to get that done. And guys, I don't really put all my hopes into a yellow because for some reason, getting a pigmented yellow, it's kind of difficult, guys. Okay, guys, this is a little powdery, so I think I need to use a different brush. Oh, please. I'm going in with my Colourpop E21 brush first. Okay, guys. The shade in the Viseart palette, yeah, it's a little bit powdery. I mean, but it's got some pigmentation. But at $84. But in my case, at 20% off, it better. Okay, guys, now going in with my ES6 brush from my Profusion set. I'm just going to go ahead and blend these two shades, while we're doing it. And I decided I would do it like this, just so I don't have to switch brushes between blending.
Stop trying to make it complicated, 'cause it's really out of my control. How you feel is not my problem. I really want to go.
Okay, guys, now your girl Lily's done getting her blend on my right, your left. Going in with this shade Abstract from the Fade Into Hue palette. I'm going to blend that directly over Paradise on my left, your right. And I'm still using the E21 brush. I just cleaned it off with my color switch. Yes, guys. Abstract, it's also powdery. But again, guys, you will get that when using yellows. But I'm telling you right now, guys, just upon initially using Abstract, this actually looks a little bit more pigmented than the yellow from the Viseart. Oh yeah, guys. That's much more pigmented. Okay, guys. So far, so good. So far, so good. Now your girl Lily's about to get her blend on my left, your right.
To go through the top of the pyramids, let's save the world like this. Converting to light bodies. But really, they all a part of me. Let's get the whip and go. 'Cause I'm tired of this solar ring. 'Cause it's really out of my control. How you.
Okay, guys. Not bad. Not bad at all. Now the part that everybody came here for. The lid. First, I'm going to go ahead and clean up my lids right quick. Okay, guys, first going in with this blue shade from the Koi palette. I'm going to put that on the inner third of my lid. Oh, guys. Do you see that color? That shade is so sticky, girl. Oh, guys, yes. That has a nice little iridescent shift to it. Okay, guys, now going in with this shade Hot Copic here from the Fade Into Hue palette. I'm going to put that on the inner third of my lid, on my left, your right. Okay, guys, that shade is pretty too. Okay, guys, now going in with this green shade from the Koi palette. I'm going to put that on the second third of my lid, on my right, your left. Oh, guys, that's cool. That is cool. And now I'm just merging the blue shade and the green shade together. Oh, but guys, this is a pretty lid. Okay, guys, now going in with this shade Heart here. I'm going to put that on the second third of my lid. On my left, your right. Ooh, guys, that shade is pretty too. Yeah. And now I'm just marrying the blue shade with the green shade. Guys, the left side is pretty too. Okay, guys, now going in with this teal shade from the Editorial Brights palette. I'm going to put that on the last third of my lid. On my right, your left. And I'm just going to use a fluffy shader brush from one of the Morphe sets to get that done. And guys, I am being very careful not to let this shade overlap with the red, cause I'm not trying to get brown. That's a pretty teal. Okay, guys, now going in with bold type. I'm going to put that on the last third of my lid. On my left, your right. And I'm just using the same Morphe brush that I cleaned off with my color switch. And now this shade leans just a little bit more green than the teal shade from the Editorial Brights palette. But inside, it's cool. Okay, guys. I love the way this looks turning out so far. So I'm about to go ahead, pop on my lashes, do my complexion off camera. And yeah, we'll be back to finish up these eyes, though. Okay, everybody, I went on ahead, popped on my lashes, did my complexion off camera. Everything I use will be listed down in the description box. But let's finish up these eyes, though. But first things first, guys. First, I'm going to put some powder under my eye to catch this fallout. And guys, we're just going to keep it super simple. So first, going in with the teal shade from the Editorial Brights palette. I'm going to put that directly underneath my lash line on my right, your left. And now going in with this shade Bold Type. I'm going to put that directly underneath my lower lash line on my left, your right. And now going in with the yellow shade from the Editorial Brights palette. I'm going to use that to blend out the teal shade. And now going in with this shade Abstract. I'm going to use that to blend out Bold Type on my left, your right. Okay, guys, now going in with this gold shade from the Koi palette. I'm going to pop that in my inner corner on my right, your left. And now going in with this shade Shine Bright here. I'm going to pop that in my inner corner on my left, your right. And because I want just a little extra brightness in my inner corner, I'm just going to go in with a highlighter. So I'm going to go in with my Anastasia Beverly Hills Reezy highlight and pop it in my inner corner on my right and left. Okay, guys, cute. So now I'm about to go ahead, wipe away the fallout, do some finishing touches to my face. I'll be back with my final thoughts. Okay, everybody, here's the finished look. And just like that, your girl Lili is shook. I love this palette, guys. While I do understand that this is indeed a first impression, I must admit, guys, Fade Into You made a great first impression. I mean, you saw it. You saw how the shades performed. I mean, what more I need to say? What more I need to say? What more do I need to say? The mattes, while pigmented, were highly buildable. I had zero patchiness, zero skipping. And I mean, the mattes blended like a dream, guys. They blended like a dream. This shade Paradise here is actually a pressed pigment, guys. And you guys, my peeps, already know that pressed pigments are oftentimes some of the most difficult shades to work with. But no. When blending Paradise into Abstract, these shades blended into each other rather nicely. And Abstract, while a yellow shade, you guys, my peeps, already know that yellows are often the shades in the palette with the least pigment. But no. When applying Abstract to my lid, it appeared on my eyes exactly like it did in the pan. So much, guys, that it actually performed better than the yellow in the Viseart Editorial Brights palette. So needless to say, guys, I'm quite impressed with every single matte I use inside the palette today. I have zero qualms about the mattes. But about these shimmers, though. The shimmers are bad. Every shimmer I use today, I use with a dry brush. Yeah. The shimmers are bad. I mean, you saw it. You saw how the shimmers perform. I mean, what more I need to say? What more I need to say? What more do I need to say? The shimmers are bad. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not saying not even close. The Colourpop runs rings around Viseart, but what I am saying is that when it comes to the Fade Into You palette, it's most definitely hanging with the big dogs. There's not much more to say about the palette, okay? Because what's understood don't need to be explained. I'm not exactly sure how much the Fade Into You palette costs. I just saw it was available and clicked pay now. But I'll be sure to have the price listed on the screen somewhere. But what I can tell you is based on the shades I use today, whatever it costs is more than likely worth it. Trust. Believe that. So I really want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today while I did one look using 3 palettes. Yeah. I always love connecting with you guys, my peeps. Every chance I get. Every chance I get. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. It only gets greater later, guys. It only gets greater later. So until next time, guys, stay real, stay positive, stay up, and damn it, you better watch, fight, and pray.